Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar's assassination on March 15, 44 BC, known as the Ides of March, was the result of a conspiracy led by several Roman senators, including Brutus, Cassius, and Decimus. The conspirators, driven by fears that Caesar was aiming to establish a monarchy and undermine the Republic, meticulously planned the attack. Caesar was lured to the Senate House under the pretense of a meeting. As he entered, the conspirators surrounded him, with the lead attacker, Casca, striking first. Each senator then took turns stabbing Caesar, with Brutus delivering the final blow. According to historical accounts, Caesar, upon recognizing Brutus among his attackers, uttered the famous line, "Et tu, Brute?" and "You, Brutus?" Caesar was stabbed 23 times before collapsing at the base of Pompey's statue. The assassination plunged Rome into chaos, sparking a series of civil wars that eventually led to the rise of the Roman Empire. King Henry IV. King Henry IV of France, also known as Henry of Navarre, was the target of an assassination attempt on May 14, 1594. The assailant, Jean Châtel, a Catholic fanatic, had been deeply troubled by Henry's conversion from Protestantism to Catholicism. Châtel managed to gain access to the king's carriage in Paris by pretending to be a penitent. Armed with a dagger, he attacked King Henry as he was traveling through the streets. The attempt was ultimately unsuccessful. Henry survived the attack, though Ravaillac was later executed for his crime. Henry IV's reign, marked by efforts to stabilize France after the Wars of Religion, continued for another 11 years until his assassination in 1610 by another Catholic extremist, François Ravaillac. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States. He was the target of an assassination plot that culminated on April 14, 1865, when he was shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Booth, a Confederate sympathizer and actor, had initially planned to abduct Lincoln to secure the release of Confederate prisoners, but shifted to assassination as the Civil War neared its end. Booth and a group of conspirators plotted to kill Lincoln, Vice President Andrew Johnson, and Secretary of State William H. Seward in a coordinated attack to destabilize the U.S. government. On the night of April 14th, Booth slipped into Lincoln's private box at the theater and shot him in the back of the head. Lincoln was carried across the street to a boarding house, where he died the following morning. Booth fled but was eventually tracked down and killed by Union soldiers. William McKinley. William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, was assassinated on September 6, 1901, by Leon Czolgosz, an anarchist who opposed McKinley's policies. The assassination took place at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York, where McKinley was attending a public reception. Czolgosz, who had concealed a revolver in a handkerchief, approached the president under the guise of seeking an autograph. During the handshake, he fired 2 shots at close range, hitting McKinley in the abdomen. Despite initial optimism about McKinley's recovery, the wounds became infected, and he succumbed to gangrene on September 14, 1901. The attack was part of a broader wave of anarchist violence during that period, and Czolgosz was quickly apprehended, tried, and executed. McKinley's death led Vice President Theodore Roosevelt to ascend to the presidency. Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was assassinated on June 28, 1914 in Sarajevo by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist associated with the Black Hand Group. The assassination was part of a broader movement seeking to create a greater Serbia by destabilizing the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, were in Sarajevo for a state visit when they were first targeted by another member of the Black Hand, Nedeljko Kabrinović, who threw a grenade that missed the couple but injured others. Later that day, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie took a different route to visit the wounded in the hospital. By chance, their car took a wrong turn and ended up on the same street where Princip happened to be. Princip seized the opportunity and fired 2 shots, killing Franz Ferdinand and Sophie. The assassination set off a chain reaction of events that led to the outbreak of World War I, as it escalated existing tensions between major European powers. John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated on November 22, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. Kennedy was riding in a motorcade through Dealey Plaza when he was shot by Lee Harvey Oswald from a nearby Texas school book depository. Oswald fired 3 shots, 2 of which struck Kennedy, one in the upper back and another in the head. The attack occurred while Kennedy was riding in an open convertible with First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy, Texas Governor John Connally, and Connolly's wife Nellie. The assassination shocked the world and led to a swift investigation. Oswald was arrested shortly after the shooting, but was killed 2 days later by nightclub owner Jack Ruby before he could stand trial. Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy was the brother of John F. Kennedy. He was a U.S. Senator from New York and a leading Democratic candidate for the presidency in 1968. He was assassinated on June 5, 1968, shortly after delivering his victory speech upon winning the California primary. The assassination occurred at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, where Kennedy was addressing his supporters. Sirhan, a 24-year-old Palestinian, approached Kennedy and fired a .22 caliber revolver at close range. Kennedy was struck multiple times and, despite emergency surgery, died from his injuries on June 6, 1968. Sirhan was apprehended at the scene and later convicted of first-degree murder. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr., the prominent civil rights leader and advocate for racial equality, was assassinated on April 4, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee. King was staying at the Lorraine Motel while in the city to support striking sanitation workers. At around 6:01 p.m., he was shot by James Earl Ray, a fugitive with a criminal record. Ray fired a single bullet from a nearby boarding house, striking King in the neck. Despite immediate medical attention, King died from his injuries at St. Joseph's Hospital approximately an hour later. The assassination sparked nationwide riots and mourning. Ray was captured and pleaded guilty to the murder in March 1969. Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India, was assassinated on October 31, 1984, by her own bodyguards, Bent Singh and Satwant Singh. The assassination was a direct response to her controversial military operation, Operation Blue Star, which aimed to remove Sikh militants from the Golden Temple in Amritsar, a sacred site for Sikhs. This operation angered many Sikhs and led to calls for revenge against Gandhi, who was perceived as responsible for the desecration of the temple. On the day of the assassination, Bent Singh and Satwant Singh ambushed Gandhi as she was leaving her residence at Warren Safdarjung Road in New Delhi. Bent Singh and Satwant Singh fired a burst of bullets at Gandhi, ensuring that she was fatally wounded. Gandhi was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. Her assassination triggered anti-Sikh riots across India, leading to widespread violence and significant loss of life. Anwar Sadat. Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, was assassinated on October 6, 1981, during a military parade in Cairo celebrating the 8th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. Sadat, who was known for his efforts to achieve peace with Israel through the Camp David Accords, was targeted by a group of Islamic extremists associated with the Egyptian Islamic Jihad. The attackers, including Khalid Islambouli, a former military officer, and his accomplices, managed to bypass security and storm the reviewing stand where Sadat was seated. They opened fire, killing Sadat and several others, including high-ranking officials and military personnel. The assassination was motivated by opposition to Sadat's peace treaty with Israel and his policies, which were seen as too Western-oriented and anti-Islamic by the extremists. Following the assassination, the Egyptian government cracked down on Islamist groups, and Sadat's vice president, Hosni Mubarak, succeeded him. Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, the leader of India in India's struggle for independence from British rule, was assassinated on January 30, 1948. He was shot by Nathuram Godse, a Hindu nationalist who opposed Gandhi's efforts to promote reconciliation between Hindus and Muslims, and his perceived concessions to Muslims in the wake of India's partition. The assassination took place in New Delhi at a prayer meeting. Godse, who had a grudge against Gandhi's policies, approached him during the meeting and fired 3 bullets at close range, killing him instantly. Gandhi's death sparked widespread mourning both in India and around the world.